What up, Kung Fu, video game, etc. movie fans? This is 12th Venom Gary Williams, a Film Fan Dojo, video game, etc. movie fans. Got an echo? This is 12th Gary Williams, a Film Fan Dojo. We got an echo going on here. So, got an echo? Is somebody's computer on? We got an echo. Like on YouTube? So
right now I'm gonna mute myself, so just to make sure. I don't know if that's from me, but I'm gonna mute.
I don't know. Okay, so like mine is muted, but this is Gary Williams of FilmFanDojo.com, and today I want to get two of my best friends. I consider them brothers in the world. We were talking about Mortal Kombat, and Mr. Melandro 81. That's his Twitch handle. So if you're gonna stream on Twitch, if you're going to watch a stream on Twitch, watch Mr. Melandro 81 as he streams. He does some morning exercises and he also streams games. But when he introduces himself, he'll tell you exactly about what his brand is and what he's doing. And I got Largy from Caprobatica on as well. But we were talking about Mortal Kombat, and Mr. Melandro had the idea of kind of, why don't we talk on the air about it? Because we always have our thoughts. We kind of do this when every movie comes out. And so for all my audience out there, I see we got a couple people watching. This is gonna be a little clunky because it's the first time I'm using StreamYard. So, but we're gonna do it. We're gonna have some fun. We're gonna be ourselves. And I've been knowing these gentlemen for decades. I know them. You don't know them. So I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves and just tell you a little bit about their work, their brands and things that they are doing. And I'm going to go with Largy first. I'm going to mute myself. Largy, tell the audience something about yourself, things you want them to know, plug your brands, and go for it.
Hey, everybody. First of all, thank you so much to the Gary Williams, the 12th Venom, for having us. And Mr. Melandro, so happy that this is so fun. I'm very happy to be here with you all. I'm just an old school video game nerd, and I remember Mortal Kombat used to be one of my favorite video games. I used to become very upset with it very frequently. I'm surprised my Sega Genesis survived my axe, because I used to always get mad and always losing. So anyway, thank you so much for having me. That's my intro. Thank you.
Okay, and we're going to go to Mr. Melandro. Let's tell us about what you're doing, your thoughts. Give the audience an intro to you. Be sure to plug all the stuff that you got going on, and we're going to let you go.
Thank you very much, Gary. What number Venom are we?
12.
12, the 12th Venom, because the other 11 weren't potent enough. Thank you so much for having me, Mr. Melandro. I stream on Twitch, Mr. Melandro 81, and in the mornings, some movement, calisthenics, stretching, just to get your body awake. And then generally during the weekends, then I stream video games sometimes with my brother here, Gary Williams, the 12th Venom, Mortal Kombat, or what else we got? Yeah, other video games as well. So if you got, I'm also a capoeira professor. I teach capoeira as well in the Bay Area. So you can check me out, find out more information, capoeirabayarea.com. So basically, if you just Google Mr. Melandro 81 or Capoeira Bay Area, that's pretty much everything that I do. Been doing a little bit of film background work and hope to be doing some more principal acting sooner than later. But yes, grateful for the opportunity to be here with my brothers and chop it up on the new Mortal Kombat 2021 film. So thank you so much again. Let's get it.
All right. And as we said, we've all been video game fans. Certainly, of course, I think if you're a martial artist, which we all are, and a martial artist are interested in video games, Mortal Kombat was never far from your playlist. The new one, of course, without getting too much into it, because that's not what we're reviewing, but the new one is quite fun to play. The graphics are great. Fatalities are especially brutal. So that's, something to look forward to. So each of you, I'm going to ask this, and I'm going to go back to you, Mr. Melandro, first. What was your first exposure to Mortal Kombat? And explain kind of how you discovered it and what your thoughts were when you first discovered it in any medium you discovered it in.
All right. So when I first came across Mortal Kombat, I was middle school, and I was visiting my cousin, and we went to the Coney Island on the corner of McNichols and Wyoming, I think it was. Yeah, over there. And all of a sudden we see these digitized characters, because I'm a fan of Street Fighter and things like that. But it was cool because it was just something different, and the people were fighting, which was cool. But then all of a sudden, at the end of the second round, you hear this voice say, "Finish him!" And I was like, what is this going on? And then you see a fatality for the first time, and like my mind is blown. And then of course, like the next day you go back to school, and then everyone at the lunch table is talking about different stuff. Oh yeah, the blue ninja, his name is Sub-Zero. What the heck is a Sub-Zero? Oh, the other guy, his name is Scorpion. I didn't even see no Scorpion. Oh, Scorpion. That's just the name. Like, trying to wrap my head around people with certain names that weren't necessarily animals. Yeah, and from the very first Mortal Kombat was like definitely hooked. I first played Mortal Kombat at home on the neutered Super Nintendo version where you had to use the Game Genie to turn the sweat into blood. Oh my goodness. And I remember, because I was for a long time I was a Nintendo fanboy, and I was so jealous. I was so jealous of folks who had a Sega Genesis, because they could just put in the code and it'd be like, oh, but the Super Nintendo version, it looks better than the Sega Genesis version. But it's like, yeah, but can you do this? So that was my first experience, going to the Coney Island, hanging out with my cousin, watching people play Mortal Kombat for the first time, seeing someone receive a fatality and trying to also discover the fatalities as well. And this was before, the internet per se. So it was a lot of work had to be, more work had to be done to like just get good in the game. So yeah, Mortal Kombat 1, Coney Island.
Now, Largy, what was your first exposure to the thing that we would know growing to the Mortal Kombat media empire?
Well, first of all, I gotta laugh at Mr. Merlando, because I didn't know he was a Nintendo fanboy. I remember way back in the day, there was this like rivalry between Sega Genesis and Nintendo. So I was a Sega Genesis guy, and I just couldn't understand what. Yeah. So that was so funny, and I remember the frustration was like, well, what is it about Sega Genesis? So you had, Nintendo that was better than Sega Genesis when you have more buttons. I think with Sega Genesis you have more controllers. So when my first exposure to Mortal Kombat, I actually don't remember. Maybe I saw it in the arcade, but I do remember when I purchased it, or my mother purchased it for me back in the day. My brother and I, we played it, and I just remember being stunned because it was like real characters with real movements. Like they looked so realistic, and it was like mind-boggling. And I actually remember for Sega Genesis when we plugged in the code, I still remember it. It just came back to my head. It was ABACABB to get the blood. That was blood. And I remember like, get over here. That's like the code that came from. So yeah, it was really fun. One of the most striking features about Mortal Kombat was the like when you uppercutted them, and then at the end when you finish them, they fall into the pit. And I was like, whoa, that's a whole different kind of feature with a video game. So yeah, yeah, that was my first exposure to Mortal Kombat. I think we just bought it straight out the gate, and then then history happened with that. Yeah.
Okay, and you guys are probably more gamers than me. I'm more of a casual gamer, and I can't remember where the Mortal Kombat was. I don't know if it was at home or at an arcade, but I just remember like someone performing a fate on me. Of course, they were performing a fatality, and it was like whoever like took your spine out at first. I can't remember who that was, but I'm like, wow, this is kind of cool. And so, I liked the game ever since, and I think I had it. I think I had it on Genesis, honestly. At the time, I was working at Blockbuster, and well, I won't tell you what I did, but we could get games. Statute of limitations, but we could get games, and and we would play the games in the store. Like we weren't supposed to, but like whatever, man. We play the game in the store. People be walking in, see somebody's skeleton dripping blood from the Genesis, and they're like, "What is this?" So I think we helped Blockbuster make some money, hyping up that video game, not on purpose, but so we all have exposure to Mortal Kombat through the games. But then was it 95 or 96? Some smart studio exec says, you know what, this game is so popular, let's make a movie. And that was our first exposure to Mortal Kombat on the screen. And I want to, before we get into our Mortal Kombat discussion of the 2021 version that we just came out April 23rd, what did you think? Like, give me your impressions of the first Mortal Kombat live action movie. Largy, what was your thoughts when you saw that?
I was super hyped, actually. Like I couldn't believe that Mortal Kombat was coming to the big screens, and I was just the previews back then were like, you just fell in love with the screen back then. So I remember seeing Liu Kang with his like glistening muscles on the screen, and then seeing Scorpion's scary face on the screen the first time, and yeah, it was this. The movie is a classic. Shang Tsung made the movie, in my opinion, because he was a perfect villain. He just embodied the whole character. Gary Williams is an excellent impersonator, so I'm not going to even try to impersonate him. But I remember the opening scene. Shang Tsung scared the heck out of me, and I can still remember how terrified I was of just his villainy. So yeah. Anyway, it was an awesome movie. I love, of course, the soundtrack really like set the whole created history for it until now. So yeah, that was my first impression of the movie. Mr. Melandro.
Cool. So I'm gonna start off with the person who probably ripped out your spine was Sub-Zero, because he had the Predator fatality, the Predator 2 fatality, right? So yeah, my first impression of the 1995 Mortal Kombat film. Whew, man, the only thing I can say is just like amped. It got me so amped from the trailer because of that. Like a lot of the classic that we consider classic, like timeless, even pop culture films or even TVs, generally we associate it with a theme song. You have Rocky, for example, right? But and Mortal Kombat, like regardless of like what stature of film it is, as a film, right? As a quality film, but I cannot deny that soundtrack when it was like Mortal Kombat, dun 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 dun, Kano, Liu Kang, Raiden, Johnny Cage, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Sonya, Mortal Kombat. And that's even before you even go see the film. That was just like, I'm getting goosebumps right now. Just like, and that's how ingrained it is in my memory, you know, because I even went and got the soundtrack to the film, the CD soundtrack. Me and my best friend, my next door neighbor Jamal, we like went to the dollar store and we bought blue and yellow shirts and black shirts so we could like make our own like Scorpion and Ninja mask. And I cannot say how many times I've seen that movie in theaters, like not even before it came on VHS, right? But just going to go see it so many times in theaters. And I feel like to this day, it's one of the best. It's one of the best video game to film adaptations. And again, like that soundtrack just made everything just more intense, more epic, you know. So yeah, man, the first Mortal Kombat, even to this even to this day, that soundtrack. And I think the movie was entertaining as well because it was always like because I was so into the video game, I was watching to see. I was always surprised to see what would pop out from the game. Not saying like I would look for stuff, but you know, when Sonya and Kano fought and then she did the leg grab. Oh, okay. She did the leg grab, but then she didn't flip him over, but you know, she just broke his neck. That's okay. And then you know, whatever, also being caught by surprise on what liberties that films take when they do an adaptation, because they don't necessarily do very rarely is it a 100% adaptation. So then like Scorpion and Sub-Zero was under Shang Tsung's power, you know, so then they weren't fighting each other. So I was like, okay, well, you know, that's different. But not to go too long, but man, it was and still is like a great popcorn flick, a great movie just to like get entertained to this day. Because man, once that they worked some magic with that soundtrack, you know. And everything was good. The story was was good enough to keep you engaged and not like, okay, when's that track gonna go back on, you know? So I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed all of the little Easter egg references, you know, that they put into the video game as well. That first Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, that's great. And for me, and I won't take too long, but for me, I really enjoyed the movie as well. For me, it was one of those things because it was a video game, because it was a martial arts based video game. It harkened me back to, you know, my favorite era probably is the 70s and 80s. But it was one of the few movies in the transition from the American martial arts movies of the late 80s, 90s until we got action movies that just everybody's doing martial arts regardless of their character. But it was one of the ones in between that still had that martial arts Enter the Dragon tournament vibe, because, you know, a lot of it when the guys created the game was based on that and some of the old school thoughts in the movie. So I liked it. I really liked and then I liked that they had real martial artists in the roles. You know, you had Chris Casimir, who was he was Sub-Zero. Yeah. You had Hakeem Alston, who was on WMAC Masters as the Machine, but he was like the monk that got beat up by Robin Shaw, who was, of course, Liu Kang. And you know, you had Pat Johnson was the fight choreographer, who will have fame as the Karate Kid fight choreographer, as well as one of the referees in the Karate Kid. So, you know, you had like pretty much who's who of American martial arts in the 90s there. So I liked it. Like I said, soundtrack was hype. It was just great. And for its time, I think it stands as a great film adaptation of a game. And yeah, not so much Annihilation, but remember Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, what really stood out to me in that was Talisa Soto. And that's a whole nother, yeah. But that's what stood out to me. The rest was kind of, yeah. But we got to say that, and we're going to get into this review in a second, but we got to say that the mythology on TV and film of Mortal Kombat continued with Mortal Kombat Conquest, the TV show. It was another TV show that I'm forgetting the name of that came a little bit after Conquest, but it wasn't as well received as Conquest. And then now that we're moving forward to 2010 with the Mortal Kombat Legacy, that really I think that it was the reason we have a Mortal Kombat that we just watched, because that became so popular. It went from a short to a web series, and it had Michael Jai White. It had, all these people, and it was a very good story broken up into those different things. It wasn't Mark Dacascos in there as Kung Lao. Like, wasn't that one? That was the other one, right? Or I'm thinking of something totally different. That was the other one. That was not Legacy. That was the one before Legacy.
Yeah. So if I can hop in, I think they had the Mortal Kombat Conquest, and then they had Mortal Kombat the animated series, which was like Defenders of the Realm. And then so that before the Mortal Kombat like Legacy web series, there was a not so much a fan film, but it was like a pretty well budgeted teaser film, I want to say, like just the idea of what would happen if you take these characters and put them in like the most realistic, gritty kind of like that movie Seven type of environment. So like Latif, he played Baraka, and then that's kind of, to my knowledge, that's kind of what opened the door for the Mortal Kombat Legacy stuff. But yeah, I'm trying to see how or who Mark Dacascos was. He wasn't the main character in the Legacy, but I feel like he was involved in some character for Mortal Kombat. I'll do my research. But yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, we'll figure it out. But so that leads us to 2021. The hype, the first Mortal Kombat trailer. And I just want to talk for the trailer because it reminds me of the 1995 trailer. In that, when I saw Jax get his arms frozen and pulled off, I knew I wanted to see this. Not necessarily so much for the violence, but because that's what you would expect to see if you're trying to adapt this from the current video game, which is hyper fatality, great graphic fatalities. So I'm like, okay, as soon as I saw that part, I'm like, I'm in. And then for me, when they had Hiroyuki Sanada was going to be Scorpion, when Joe Towson was going to be Sub-Zero, and I knew this, I'm like, okay, I'm in. Like, I was in all the way. So Largy, when you saw the trailer for this current Mortal Kombat, what were your initial thoughts? Like, what was going through your mind, if you can remember?
I just really quickly, I just remember the excitement of seeing how the story between Scorpion and Sub-Zero would unfold. That was major drawing element for me. So I was just like, ooh, how are they going to play this out on the screen this time? So yeah, that was my initial thought.
And you, Mr. Melandro, what were your thoughts when you saw that trailer and like, okay, they're really bringing it out now? It's a trailer.
I was excited for it. I was very curious. I knew from certain YouTube channels that I follow, I knew that they were introducing like a new character for the film. So I also was a little bit skeptic, because again, I feel like there's so many legacy characters that you already have that are like well established that you can get the same job done. So, so hearing that they're going to introduce a new character and we're going to be like, he's going to be like the POV, like the point of view for us, the audience. I was a little bit skeptical, but also knowing that, the guy from the Raid was going to be in it. The guy, from, and I'm more of like the the layman's person who like knows every other martial artist, you know. So the guy from the Raid, and also the guy from the Last Samurai, you know. Since they were going to be in it, then I was like, okay, I'm still going to check it out, but I don't know if you're going to with this other character, you know. So, but I was still like, regardless, I was going to check it out, you know, no matter what. And Marta Coscos did play Kung Lao in Legacy, MK Legacy.
Right. Cool. So, I mean, without further ado, this is what we're here for. The commentary, the commentary. So, I mean, thoughts. I mean, let's unmute because I've never been on this platform, but I think we could all not talk at the same time, but I don't think it's a issue having us all unmuted. So if you unmute, can you unmute yourselves? Yeah, there we go. So we can have more of a real talk instead of, oh, I'm gonna ask you this question Q&A thing. That's over. Now, let's get to it. First of all, let's talk about the story. Give me your thoughts on this current rendition of the Mortal Kombat mythology story as told by the latest film. Like, give me your thoughts on. Just give me your thoughts.
Mr. Melandro, you want to go first?
I thought it was okay. You know, at first glance, it's just like, okay, cool. You know, because Mortal Kombat, as it continued, got more evolved with like elder gods and different realms and things like that. So, you know, very mystic from the first tournament per se, which is a little bit more simplistic, you know, Enter the Dragon kind of thing. Kumite, you know, so to speak. But as I, you know, watch it more, then it's just like, okay, it was an okay setup, but there's a lot of plot holes, you know. There's a lot of plot holes, and it could have just been done a little bit better as a whole, you know. So it was okay for the plot. It was okay.
And what about you, Largy? Give me your thoughts on the story. What did you, being a fan of the game, what did you, and of the 1995 movie, what did you kind of think of the story of this one?
Well, in terms of story comparison, I'm just gonna the first, nothing beats the classic. Nothing beats the classic. I'm just gonna say that first. I thought that if I was to compare it, I like how simplistic the original story was, and it was easier to follow. This one, I agree with Mr. Melandro. There were a lot of like lead-ons, and I felt a little bit complex. I was like, ooh, what's going to happen here? Ooh, what's going to happen here? And then it was like, oh, wow. So I don't know. It's just, so I felt like there was a lot going on, and I was really hoping for more of to see more of Scorpion and Sub-Zero's story unfold. That's what I was really looking forward to, like, to really understand. I did. Now I'm gonna be honest. I was really hyped from the beginning because it was really touching. I was really drawn in to see Scorpion's past, and I just love the humanity like Scorpion was like when he first started out. That was like really impressive because you know him as like devilish character, and what's the reason? What was the fire behind his transformation? So that was really lovely to see. Like, I mean, that was really cool to see that. So I was really looking forward to see it, and I'm glad that. Already not talking about spoilers.
Oh man, at this point, I mean,
Okay.
to do the review, we're gonna have spoilers. So okay, whoever's watching, we got some viewers. If you haven't seen it, it's gonna be full of spoilers because I don't think we can truly discuss this movie without saying some things in it. So that's just I'm sorry I didn't preface that at first, but this is not gonna be spoiler free. So if you haven't seen it, mute and close your ears or something, but you know, hopefully you've seen it. But we to get into this full discussion, I think we gotta talk about it, you know.
Yeah.
And if I can add on to what Largy was saying, like, so for example, there's two audiences, right? There's the audience who knows the Mortal Kombat lore, not even a hardcore gamer or anything like that, but just like knows enough about Mortal Kombat, right? To know what's going on and knows the certain characters and things like that without it being explained to them. Then there's the other audience who is like heard of Mortal Kombat because Mortal Kombat is such a big pop culture phenomenon, but they don't really know the lore, right? So with the whole dynamic of Scorpion and Sub-Zero, like us as people who know, we'll be the gamers, right?
Mm-hmm.
The gamers and the moviegoers. So the gamers, we know their background, but looking at the movie, it was never really it never really was explained thoroughly of like, why is Sub-Zero fighting Sub-Zero? Scorpion. Why is Sub-Zero fighting Scorpion? Yeah, he killed his family, and it's like, okay, for my clan, but like, why are they fighting each other? For what? What is their motivation? You know, who did what to whom? Like, you know, for him to go through the effort, and then also for him to come back from hell or the nether realm. Like, I understand Scorpion's motivation at that time, but what is Sub-Zero's motive? And he'd be like, for the Lin Kuei, and now I'm referencing like more for the moviegoers. Who's the Lin Kuei? Okay, for the Shirai Ryu. Okay, who is that? You know, and then just one other, you know, one other nitpick is like, okay, Sub-Zero spoke Chinese, he spoke Japanese, and then he would just randomly speak English at certain times. Like, why?
Yeah.
Why? We got the subtitles. We can follow along with you, and it's nobody that you need to have an in-depth conversation with. So why are you now speaking English? I didn't understand.
Yeah, for me, it was what you guys said, but the pacing. And, you know, me and Mr. Melandro were talking the other day, and I'm like, you know, I wouldn't have minded if this movie was 2.5 hours, because you could then add a scene where you explain that the Shirai Ryu and the Lin Kuei had this history of a feud. And you could go into like, okay, he's the new leader of the Lin Kuei clan, and he's going to, so then they could have the same scene. And I think it would be more impactful, because like, oh, this is a long feud. It's like this feud of ninja clans, you know. The pacing of the story is what got me, because then, you know, we get to Cole Han, man, I keep saying Cole Young. I keep thinking about shoes. We get to Cole Young in the MMA gym scene, you know, when he's about to get beat up, and they're talking about, you know, the first scene with him. And it's like, okay, he's seeing flashes in the mirror of Scorpion and everything. It was just the pacing. Like it was like a comic book, but not in a good way. It's like a panel, then another panel, then another one, but they were like jumping all over the place, and not really like, okay, it may be 3 separate panels, but they're all different. And so, you know, yeah, it reminded me of like how you shoot a music video, where it's like a scene, another scene, and it's trying to build excitement, but the mythology of the Mortal Kombat is the excitement. If you just extend some things and add some things, so like you said, some stuff makes sense. Like, what are the Lin Kuei, and why would they be speaking Chinese, and they're in Japan? And then like he said, I don't understand you, but you know, but who did it well? And this is outside the movie, but Warrior. Have you seen Warrior? Anybody?
Yeah.
Warrior did it well when I can't remember all the characters now. I think it was Assam first came to America, and the Chinese people were speaking Cantonese. Then they spoke Cantonese for a few scenes, and then the camera shifted, and it was like they were still speaking Cantonese, but why everybody was speaking English, because now we understand the Cantonese. So Then when they were speaking to the Caucasian people, they would speak some words in Cantonese, but then it would switch back for us to English to understand what they were saying. Like it's little elements like that that you don't lose the audience, because it's like, okay, he's like ranting at him in Chinese and some Japanese. Right. Leroy Green 85 is my man on Instagram. Last Dragon. He says Behind, and I agree with this. Behind spoke Japanese to Scorpion's family, but doesn't to Scorpion himself. I think he said a couple words in Japanese to him, but like he had a long thing with the wife and the kid, like, oh, I'm a nice little kid here. I'm gonna get, so it's those inconsistencies that you notice. And I don't think you notice them. We may notice them a little bit more, but I think people still notice them because it's like, wait, why are they fighting again? Why is he speaking? Was he? Then he's like, for the Lin Kuei. Like
what I want to know is like, so also like it's established that Ko Young, because you automatically think, because of what is shown to the audience, you think that this child is Scorpion's son, right?
Yes.
Then
yes.
They just eventually it's revealed that no, you're a descendant. So this is like decades, however long ago. So then does that mean that each generation from Scorpion's lineage had these visions?
They didn't think that far.
So okay.
And then why wouldn't you just, if you're what's his name? Shang Tsung.
Yeah.
And you know that this is the prophecy. Why wouldn't you just go back in between the child that was the daughter of Scorpion? Why don't you just go back when she like 17 and just kill her?
I don't know how much of like I may have to watch it again, but I don't know if that it was a chosen one or a chosen few, like
right
crew, Raiden's crew to defend, against for Mortal Kombat, which there was not a Mortal Kombat tournament in Mortal Kombat movie.
No.
What?
It was, yeah. Well, this is what 95 does better than this one. There was a tournament.
Yeah.
This is the whole thing about Mortal Kombat. There's a tournament, because what it kind of reminds me of, and Largy, I want your thoughts, you kind of silent, but was what it kind of reminded me of is like you could have just had dudes that were assassins just fighting each other over history, and there was no need for a Mortal Kombat tournament. They could have just kept doing what they were doing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like they had 9 tournaments before this one that were tournaments, but this one they're like, oh, we're gonna change the rules. I'm changing the rules.
Show any flashbacks to the actual tournament?
No, of the tournaments, no.
Right. You just get pictures on the wall. How you feel about that, Largy?
Yeah, I was very confused about that part, and actually I was sort of disappointed with how they positioned Kano. like that was just like, that threw me off, and the more they extended that longer, like him is, I'm like, okay, first of all, this feels more like a soap opera than a movie, because they never alluded to the actual tournament. So they spoke about Outworld, they teased it, but they didn't really give us a back history about that too. Like why is Outworld so important and critical to maintain in the first place? And then we don't know. They didn't even talk about Shang Tsung. Like no one knows anything. It's just like this evil warlord who wants to conquer. I mean, so they gave very short. Oh, they conquered or they finished. They conquered 9 Mortal Kombat tournaments, and then now they're trying to. So they just gave like 1 sentence descriptions of like what their motivation. So I don't know. Melandra, I'm glad you brought that up, because there wasn't a tournament. I'm like, wait a minute. It was like the story before the tournament, and so that was very disappointing. And then Raiden, I don't know. Raiden.
You know what? I didn't have an issue with Raiden too much. I had more of an issue with how Raiden was used.
Yeah.
He wasn't. He was just there. He was there just to teleport people because he wasn't there for any other reason to me. Like he provided no. Remember the first Mortal Kombat, the movie, when Christopher Lambert was Raiden. He actually was providing them guidance. He was like,
Yeah.
"Don't watch out for this." He was telling us as the audience who these people were when they were coming out in that one scene where everybody was like in the big room and different people were coming. He's like, "Oh, that's such and such you need to watch out for. This is from this realm. This is here." He just kind of like,
and dude, okay, so I'm just doing all the plot holes, the stuff that just did not make sense, right? So there's a whole the bad guys go to Raiden's temple, which they apparently could have found at any moment, right? They go to Raiden's temple. Raiden puts up a shield, you know. Then Kano is able to destroy the staff because the one thing keeping them safe is not guarded, right? So he destroys it. Then then they fight. Then Raiden shows up towards the end. And then he teleports them. Okay, two things. Okay, two things. One, he banishes Shang Tsung. You know, he's like, "Oh, you talk too much." But why didn't you do that as soon as he showed up? That you banish him, and if he can teleport anybody anywhere, why didn't he teleport them inside a volcano? But again, I know that like it's explained like okay, the gods can't get involved, but he showed his power when he teleported Shang Tsung and his folks away, right? Now, he did okay, let's say that he didn't have the power to do that. He teleported everybody to the void, right? So why didn't he, when they first got there, why didn't he just take them to the void so they could train in the hyperbolic time chamber there until they're ready? And then after that, then they go ahead and have whatever tournament. No, they wait till they kill one of the coolest characters. You know, Kung Lao, he was dope. You know, Kung Lao, he got a good fatality in there. And then, oh, this is the void. You know, he can't reach us here. Why weren't we here from the very beginning instead of being in a place where he can reach us? You know, so
because you had to learn your lesson. You have to develop your arcana. You have to do your arcana.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to go back to something Leroy Green said. I'm going to show it. Kano, I liked out of all the characters, Kano had the most personality for me. He was actually the most enjoyable to watch. He was an a-hole, but that's kind of Kano.
Yeah.
But he provided some much needed color to like what was very bland. He was comedy relief. I'm agreeing with my man Leroy Green 85. He was comedy relief, but he actually was one of the more enjoyable parts of the movie. But Mr. Melandro, we speaking about Kano. Remember what we were talking about yesterday when he got his arcana? Make your point about his arcana.
Okay. So
arcana, whatever it's called.
Yeah, his special ability, right? So he is one of the characters in Mortal Kombat that has a defining feature, right? So Captain Hook has a hook, you know, Ryu, he has his headband. Sagat, he has an eye patch, like, Jax, he has the cybernetic arms, so Kano has his cybernetic eye. You know, he doesn't use the laser beam until the third one for a fatality, right? So then Kano discovers he has the ability to shoot lasers from his eyes, or should I say a laser from one eye. And it's on the same side of his face where he's supposed to have this mechanical eye, So then I'm like, why is he only shooting it out of one eye? Why not shoot it out of both like Cyclops? And then why are you shooting it out of the damaged side of your head, which the lizard like scratched? So it would make sense that you would be able to use the other side, you know? That just totally did not make sense. Like, one, he should, if that was going to be his power, his special ability, you know, fine. But why did he limit it to only one? Because it was that, I feel that is the perfect representation of this movie. They like halfway do something connected to the source material, and then they change something, and that's something that they change. You have no idea why they would do that, because you are already going into the right direction, and you're like, oh wait, no, I'm going to go back and just stop here. Like, no. So he only had one eye that shot a laser rather than both. And then he's going to shoot it out of the damaged area where he like got scratched by some mutant lizard. Like, he should have put some Neosporin on that thing.
Mercure, he should have got some Mercurochrome, put it on there, slapped it on there, burnt it out.
Yeah, man.
Now I want to put this comment by Leroy Green 85 and get your thoughts, because it says Shang Tsung was so miscast. What are your thoughts on this version, this Mortal Kombat's version of the sorcerer Shang Tsung?
Go ahead, Largy.
I actually agree with Leroy Green. It was almost like he wasn't there, in my opinion. I mean, Shang Tsung, that's how much he was misused or miscast. And I like the actor, but I felt like there could have been a lot of substance added to him. And this, we only saw his power demonstrated once, you know, unfortunately. I would have loved to see Shang Tsung, his martial arts ability. We didn't see any of that. It was just like, so he was just like standing there, kind of like Raiden. Like they have no kind of. And there was one scene where they kind of face off, and I was like, okay, finally they're gonna. Nope, we didn't give it a face off with them too. I was like, okay, so yeah, so that's my. I have to agree with Leroy Green. I expected a lot more from Shang Tsung. At least I expected him to like at least like, okay, I gotta be the one to do it. You know, if you can't do it right, I might as well be the one to get it done. I was expecting kind of one of those scenarios, but yeah.
Yeah.
If I can add to that, I don't feel that he was miscast. I feel like he was underutilized because, and I'm going to speak just from two perspectives: the video game, because you know Shang Tsung has had a lot of time for his character to be developed, and then the moviegoer. So for the video game, like yes, Shang Tsung is like a capable martial artist. Not necessarily, well, yeah, capable. I was going to say not in the first one, but that's the video game. But even then, he turns into other people. So yes, his personality is that the backstabbing, you know, the snake, the very tricky, you know, manipulation, and even in the first movie, that's what he, to a certain degree, that's what he was doing. He pretended to be you know, somebody that Johnny Cage knew to like get him to go to the tournament. And what else? And just his personality, he just had more room. There was more focus on him to be more of the grand villain, right? And then with the movie, from the moviegoer perspective, the one in the 2021 Mortal Kombat was just the person reciting, just your generic. It's just like, you know, straddling the fence, just basic. Not too good, not too bad. It's just okay. Say your lines, and you know, you had a nice, cool costume, but nothing to be like, hey, I should be afraid of this person. Not when also you got Raiden who can like teleport anybody anywhere. He, you know, Shang Tsung was like using his abilities to his advantage. He was using his like trickery in the very first Mortal Kombat, and I didn't get that at all. Yeah, another person from a review that I watched, it was like there was no weight behind, you know, the stakes or anything, or just like the kind of the character's motivation, you know.
Yeah, he was, for me, he was I liked the actor. I liked him in
Mulan.
Marco I didn't see Mulan. Marco Polo.
You didn't miss anything.
I know, that's why I didn't see it. Marco Polo when it was on Netflix. He was one of the first season. So I think the actor has because he was a backstabbing SOB in that one. So he has that ability. I think it's how he was written. He was written more like a cheap dictator. Go over here and do that, Sub-Zero. Go over here and do that.
Get over there.
You know, it was as opposed to in 1995 version, he was that sneaky snake, even when he wasn't transforming into other people. He was kind of like, you know, slick with it, like, you know, and this one he was like, Sub-Zero, eliminate him. And it's like, but every villain does that. And I have someone that's 7777779311 said maybe it'll show up in the next movie.
If I can speak to that, like, you know, why when the Mortal Kombat is about a tournament of mortals combating each other, you know? So why make a movie where we have to like anticipate, you know what? That's fine. That's totally fine where you like set it up for, okay, Mortal Kombat 2 is like the tournament. But I feel like if that's what you were setting, if that's what you're going to set up, again, I feel like it starts to go in one direction, like totally following the lore. And then it comes back to be like, no, we're going to change. We're going to stop right here. And not only stop, we're going to go back a few steps. So if you're going to set it up like they did with Sub-Zero and Scorpion, you know, kind of like setting up their rivalry, because in the video game, they do fight outside of the tournament. And then Hanzo gets killed. And then they both meet each other in the Mortal Kombat tournament. And then that's where Bihan, or the original Sub-Zero, that's where he dies. But again, they didn't follow through with that, you know, leading up to certain things. You know, Kano could have his cybernetic eye, and all these other characters could be like, okay, now we've flushed out their story. Let's get ready to join the tournament. And then boom, then close. But it was all like, well, nope, no one's going to have the tournament anyway, because we're going to just like break the rules. And then if you're going to break the rules, why not just like really break them? Like put a bomb in somebody's car. Don't have Goro come out of the tool shed to like attack your family. Like, dude, just have some mafia folks, just like it's what, Gary, Indiana or whatever. Just blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool. No more people to defend Earthrealm. No, but we got to send Sub-Zero to freeze everything in July and everything. I mean, granted, that fight with him and Jax, very good, very good.
Now I want to Leroy Green 85 had a question I'm going to show in a second, but before I get to his question, I want to get to a point, Mr. Melandro, that you made yesterday. Goro. When you have a character like a Goro, how would you introduce him? Would you have him come out the tool shed, or would you make him? Yeah, I'm gonna put this on screen too from 7777, but I'm gonna get to that one in a second. But we're gonna get to Goro, then we're gonna get to Melina, then we're gonna put Leroy Green's question up about the fight scenes. But like you introduce a character like this coming out of someone's tool shed, as opposed to like he's big, he's literally bigger than life type of character. You reference him when Shang Tsung, he like pulls before he's sent wherever to Cole Young's place. You see just his arm come out the door on that scene. Prince Goro, you have joined us. It's like, okay, what is he a prince of? Because like, again, you said, we don't know is Outworld a kingdom or if it's just like a wasteland where people are and they just fight and they look funny. Like this is, I'm looking at the audience. If you never know what Mortal Kombat is, like, well, Prince, what are you a prince of? Who the king? That's my next question. Is Shang Tsung the king? Or is it, you know, so what are your thoughts on Goro? Like the introduction of when you saw Goro in this movie, like the tool shed Goro.
I feel like it just underutilized because from two perspectives, right? The gamer perspective is you're fighting the mid boss. You're fighting the mid boss in the game, and also this is the Mortal Kombat champion. This guy is the reason that they've won 9 straight tournaments. So they kind of did similar, or like an Easter egg reference to the first Mortal Kombat, where they kind of like showed his shadow and everything. But again, like, this is the Mortal Kombat champion, and then he's going to just step out of someone's tool shed so he can, kill you in front of your house on your porch. And they made, and from the audience, from like just the moviegoer point of view, then it's like, oh, well, he's kind of like a Jason, or just like a monster kind of thing. And then, mind you, Cole Young, this whole, and this may or may not be in reference to your question, but I just need to express it while it's in my throat right now. Cole Young gets beat up this whole movie, right? He taps out, which everyone is like telling him don't tap out, but he's like in a position where that's all he can do as far as movement is tap. So you want me to get my arm broken? No, like, so he loses constantly, right? Even when he's training, he gets, beat up a lot. So the first time that he wins is against the Mortal Kombat champion, Goro. That was his first win. So that was just like, what? No. So I feel like the first Mortal Kombat was great because Goro had his own music, boom, 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 boom,
yeah,
boom, and then the guy's stretching and training, and you still don't see Goro, you just see like his feet like boom, boom, and then you're like, oh man, and so there's this suspense, there's this build up to it,
And then in the first one, while you making that point,
yes,
and then in the first one, what did he do when he finally came out? He basically ripped the guy in half.
Right.
He didn't get hit in the back with an axe by the guy's wife and knock her back, and she then ran into the truck.
Mind you, his wife, with no martial art training whatsoever, was able to take a punch from the Mortal Kombat 100-year-old half dragon. Take a punch, flew back, and then got up and was able to run in a straight line towards the car and try to start the car. No problem. No broken jaw. No, I'm good. Good. He hits like a bitch. No, I'm good. Yeah, man. No, thank you.
Yeah, that was. What are your thoughts on the Goro intro, Largy? What you thinking?
Really quick, I mean, all I have to say is they truly belittled him beyond all measure. I mean, we're talking about a prince, and then, he has monstrous strength, and him coming out of a tool shed. I just thought that was just so watered down. I thought that, I don't know. Yeah, that's my thought about Goro. I just thought they belittled him beyond all measure. That's it.
You know what?
Sorry, what they could have did was just like they could introduce Goro and then just have one of Goro's lackeys, from his race, attack him. But we defeated him. It was like, oh, you defeated my, my secondhand guy or my lackey. Well, guess what? Next movie, you're gonna have to face me. And that's a great opportunity wasted.
Yep. Now I'm gonna put up with 7777. That's too many sevens. I think it's 6 sevens, but I give him like 7 sevens. But I'm gonna put up what he said because I think let me see if I can find the okay. Now we're gonna talk about Melina. He says, I hated Melina didn't get enough airtime.
Oh yeah.
Not only in my opinion did she not get enough airtime, Melina is one of the like sweetest characters on the game of Mortal Kombat. Like martial skill, call it 6-7. Martial skill, then the teleporting type of, then she can come out and come on, and the size skill. Now I know the actress is Sissy Stringer, I think is her name. So I follow her on Instagram, and she was when she reported she would be playing Melina, she did a lot of work on the size in her videos. Like you would see the size stuff, but I think that character was highly underutilized.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, what are your thoughts on this version of Melina? Or not your thoughts. Let me see. What do you think? How do you think Melina should have been presented? That's a better question. How do you think Melina should have been presented?
You want to go, Largy?
Yeah. First of all, I think they should have built up a little bit about her background, like why did she have like this sort of like monster smile, and we knew nothing about her. Period. We didn't really get to see any that much martial skill. There was really just no backstory and not a really a strong reason to love her. So other than it was just a huge teaser. Like I could see her playing out a bigger role in a future movie. But yeah, that's all I have to say about that. I mean, again, this whole movie, everything felt so rushed and like cut off half point. There's not a lot to expand on it. That's what I think about Melina. Yeah.
So, man, I think Melina had the same impact in this film that she did in Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
None.
She showed up. She fought. Both of them fighting in the mud in Annihilation. Mm-hmm. Again, it was a missed opportunity. One, I feel like she could have had her mask on the whole time.
Yeah.
If she's not going to have like the actual mouth, from jump, then just have the mask on. There could have been some reference of like who this person is instead of just like one of Shang Tsung's henchmen. Like Princess Melina, and we do this for King Shao Kahn, to take over. So and then because she's fighting like Cole Young, which with him being in his armored body, chooses to try to stab him in that armored area, like without going for anything that's exposed here. I'm gonna like try to tink stab you in the back. Oh, you got armor over here. Let me stab that a few times. Let's see how durable it is. But then when she like actually goes full Turcotten, which is Baraka's race, right? And starts to rip and everything. Then he's like, then he's like super terrified. So she could have had that mask on, the whole time. And I mean, there was the part where she did lick the Sai when she was fighting Sonya, and it was like, oh, you don't have the blood of the chosen one or something like that, which, she could have just like removed it like a little bit, licked it, and put it back, and then go full Turcotten and then like that. And I feel like that would have just had more impact. That would have been more in line with the video game, because for the most part, in Mortal Kombat 2, you think that she's Katana's sister, and then when she does the fatality where she takes off the mask, and you realize, oh, there's something wrong with that. Don't kiss that woman. So like it was the same impact, which is basically forgettable. It was forgettable. As Melina in Annihilation, they could have fleshed her out more, gave her more attention.
Okay, now I'm going to show Leroy Green's question. He asked earlier, and what are you guys' thoughts on the fight choreography? I'm going to take this one at first, and I'm going to preface it. Excuse me. And Leroy knows me. I'm going to preface it with this. Mine is not going to be a popular opinion on any modern fight scene, because my preference is for the old school ones, and I can explain why later, because I don't want to take up too much time. But so my expectations are not high when it comes to modern fight scenes, because to me they appear very generic. to me. So with that being said, with Mortal Kombat, I'm taking that out of the equation. I'm just going to base it on what I think about the fights in Mortal Kombat, not compared to anything else. One thing I thought was that we didn't really see a full fight to completion. We saw cuts of different fights. So what I mean is, we saw Cole. I was about to call him Cole Haan again. We saw Cole Young fighting Melina. Then it cuts to Liu Kang fighting Cabal. Then it cuts to, so we didn't get what you would get if you were thinking you would have a tournament like Mortal Kombat is. Liu Kang fights Cabal. They have a nice, it's not necessarily long, it could be a 2-minute fight scene, but it's a full fight scene of them. Then the next person, and then so that's what I really was really, it was really what are you doing? That's what I think is like really stood out to me about the fight scenes. They weren't bad. It was like they were cut short. The only one that got attention to me was Scorpion and Sub-Zero, which were good because both performers are like, I love both those guys' performers, but with a cast like Louis Tan, who's a real martial artist, Ludi Lin is a real martial artist, Liu Kang, the other man, I just forgot the person's name. But anyway, these people are real martial artists. Joe Towsling, you know, from the Raid. This is my thing with that. With that level of talent, and yeah, Kung Lao, Max Wong. Max Wong is like a Jackie Chan stunt guy. Like, you know, he can go. He has some of the best fights in the movie to me. But then they go ahead and get his soul sucked out and get rid of him. But so I didn't think they were bad on a technical level. I thought they were cut bad. Like, you just, and I'm sure you guys agree, and I'm sure people watching this agree. When you think of Mortal Kombat, you got to think of the tournament. You think that a tournament match is going to be done to completion. And I agree with what Leroy Green just said. 95 version, you saw completed tournament matches. And you actually saw, in some ways, I do agree, the fight choreography in 95 was better. And one of the reasons is because you saw completed matches and not just cuts of different matches. So that's all I want to say on that for now. But I want you guys to chime in on the fight scenes. Let her have it.
No, I agree with you that the best fights were Scorpion and Sub-Zero, because also those were given the most room to breathe from beginning to end without anything else. It seemed like towards the end they were rushing, you know, and just had to piece everything together. Like the fight with Jax and Reiko, that was a couple minutes. You know, if even the minute time, I don't even think it was very short, super short, right? But it's like, why go to a place that looks like it's the Pit 2 from Mortal Kombat and at least utilize that fatality or something, you know? But I totally agree with you, Gary, that it still suffers from the American editing where they just like clip. Not as bad as like, what's his name? The Bourne Identity. You know, the shaky cam and stuff like that. But again, in comparison, the 95 version was better because all the fights got room to breathe. You know, all the fights got room to breathe. And with this one, that's why they bigged up Scorpion and Sub-Zero so much with with the trailers, with the posters, and they released that 7 minutes of the first part of the movie. Why? Because I feel like that's what they put the majority of their money into, you know. Because the choreography was good, you know. The choreography was good, but again, American editing and not giving them room to breathe.
Yeah. I really, yeah, I agree. Largy, I want to hear your thoughts on the fights, man.
My thoughts are pretty much similar. I was super hyped from the beginning with Scorpion's fighting scene. I was like, that set the standard for me. Like, wow, this is going to be a high quality movie with like completed scenes. I love that part of it. So I was like, wow, this is excellent so far. But again, the fights weren't memorable, in my opinion. I mean, the best part that really sticks out was Kung Lao's fatality. That was the best. I mean, that was I was very creative. That was the only creative part. And actually, I don't know, just to be honest, I was just kind of disappointed with Cabal and Liu Kang's fight scene, like the way, I don't know. I just feel like if he was super fast like that, even in a fight, he would have with his weapons. I don't know. I mean, I know Kung Lao, Liu Kang is really strong, but I don't know. I just feel like Cabal could have really destroyed him easily in that case, because we weren't, besides Liu Kang's fireball ability, we didn't see how his martial fortitude. I mean, it was just like it made it seem like he was just a super. He had supernatural powers. We didn't know how strong he was as a martial artist. So based on that, I was like, oh wow, he could shoot a fireball, and then Cabal could come right behind him, slice him in half, be done with it. That's the way I thought about it. And I was like, where's And then they had the bicycle kick. I mean, I was like, okay, that was nice. But then I was like, so yeah, it was, again, the fight scenes weren't that memorable, but and I was really, really looking forward to seeing Raiden just kind of unleash at the last minute. I was really looking forward to that. And just another thing about Gary Williams about the pacing, because I don't know, it just went in and out, and I was looking forward to Cole Young's role as Scorpion. I thought he was just gonna blast out like Scorpion, like full. That's what I thought was gonna happen. And so that this whole body armor thing, I was. Just be honest, I wasn't really, I was like, okay, this is going to be it. I thought this was going to be another metamorphosis or something like that. And it was like, it just stopped there. So I was like, okay, this is all we're going to get from him. And so that's all I have to say on that.
So his ability wasn't even related to his fighting style. Like, why would he have tonfas? Like,
I don't understand. Right. I could understand the armor because he got hit a lot. I got that. But it's like... it's like where did the tonfas, the one pointed tonfa and then the regular tonfa come from? It's like,
and he just knows how to use them.
And because he was spinning them.
Yeah, right.
He was spinning them like you would if you knew how to use them, as opposed to someone who didn't know how to use them would probably just do this and do like hack and slash with them. Right. So that's an inconsistency, but again, Leroy Green has a good comment with the 95 fights had a cinematic style to them. Yeah. And but this is my point about a lot of modern fight scenes, and I'm glad he brought it up. I'm not going to be in the majority. I get it. But this is the thing. There is no distinct, like when I watch Mortal Kombat, okay, and then I watch which is something totally different. And I watch Justice League. I'm just throwing something out there. Mm-hmm. I don't see much of a difference in the fight scenes, like the style of them. With something like a Mortal Kombat, to me, these different characters should have had more distinct looking styles. Like, in the game, Liu Kang has kind of like a combination of like Shaolin and Bruce Lee style. Like when he's fighting, he's kind of doing some back fists, it's real quick. But then he'll jump into a stance like that. I didn't really see that. I saw what I think I would see if this was not Mortal Kombat movie and it was just any action movie. That's just for me. that's what I see when I look at it. Now, it's not bad. It's just not distinct.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it can be done because we saw it done with Scorpion versus Sub-Zero, especially in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
They looked like they had a ninja style of fighting. It was just a little bit more brutal looking. So, you know, I don't. That's just me. Now, I've grown to accept that. I think it's just the style of what the choreographers and they're tuning into what the audience has responded to.
Yeah.
So I don't really harp on it like I once did, but it's like in some of these type of movies, I think going back to something that's a little more distinct, at least in certain parts, makes it stand out. So it's like, oh, Mortal Kombat stands out. Now, if we go to the Shang-Chi, now we ain't seen it, but imagine how Shang-Chi would stand out from Mortal Kombat if they did that in certain instances. We don't know what they're going to do. I'm saying it would stand out. Otherwise, they are running together fight scene wise to me. But I really, that's just my pet peeve, but I'm probably in the minority and I get it. But I really think it with a movie like this, having some distinction makes it stand out even more, especially if you had a distinction, you actually had each fight scene getting its proper attention, like you said, Melandro, so it could breathe.
Yeah. And I agree with you of like having, I think it's also just, I don't want to say difference of culture, but I want to say just a difference of attention given to the art forms, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like for example, you take Yip Man, right? Like Yip Man 2, right? So or any of them, anytime that because you know Yip Man had his particular style of Wing Chun, and then you have the other masters, right? You have the other different Sifu masters, and they have their style. So this one,
Mm-hmm.
like the most recent one, like the woman did more crane, or a guy did more
Yeah.
mantis,
Yeah.
and they're fighting against a guy, who does like karate. And Sammo Hung, when they fought, like he had his, certain
Mm-hmm.
fighting style. And then when they're fighting each other, Sammo Hung does his style of punch, and then Ip Man does his style of counter, and vice versa. His style of kick, his style of dodge. And with the American choreography, it's generally kind of a mixture because it's only like it's sprinkled because it's a little bit. No, I don't even want to say like Jeet Kune Do. It's like, okay, what kicks are we going to use? Okay, now we're going to use some Taekwondo kicks because they get the job done. Okay, now we're going to get a little bit closer and we're just going to do some boxing. Okay, now we're going to grapple a little bit and we're going to do some, maybe some judo throws like in John Wick,
Mm-hmm.
and something like that. So it's just, or yeah, it's such a mixture of all these things that nothing is like truly defined to an individual character.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they state it in some way. But then again, if you're like a real, I wouldn't even say a real martial artist, but then in the audience who has like a good eye, like somebody just watching first time through would be like, okay, his style is that style. Okay, cool. So everything is going to be his style. This style is that style. Okay, that's his style. And then that's it. But then when you like really understand or like are a martial artist, then like the differences. But even still, just again with the personality and expression, this person is going to fight like this because that's their way. But everyone seemed like it was pretty much the same style, so to speak, the same punch, the same kick, that it could have been anyone doing those movements. Now, I will say that I feel like two things. I feel like they mixed everything together, with certain characters, like everyone except for Sub-Zero and Scorpion. But they sprinkled the MK movements to be like, oh, that's the bicycle kick,
Mm-hmm.
or oh, that's Jax's, clap fatality and things like that. But I do think that Kung Lao at least leaned a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
towards, like his style of his character, which is more like Shaolin with the jumping kick, and you like,
Mm-hmm.
tap the foot and things, and even his like rapid,
Mm-hmm.
punches and things like that. So for whatever reason, maybe just he kind of like was given the opportunity to like, hey, I'm gonna do this. Who knows? Behind the camera. But yeah, Kung Lao had a chance to be a little bit more define his style a little bit more than everyone else. Because like, who knows what Kano's fighting style was? Who knows what Sonya's fighting style was? You know, and how is that any different from Cole Young's fighting style?
Now, Largy, I want to let you get to your point, but I just want to ask this because this brings up my thought. It's like a mixture, like MMA, so to speak, where it's like, it's MMA. A punch is a punch, a kick is a kick. You know, a little bit of Taekwondo, like you said, I'm just agreeing with you. And I can get with that for somebody like Sonya and Jax because they're kind of military style characters. Even in I'm talking about the film, not the game, because the game is different. But I could accept that more because that would be their background. You know, kind of like military style. Although when he was punching the General, what was his name? General Rex or whatever his name was. Reiko. I was kind of hoping for that more rapid punch like he does in the new game. It was like boom, 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 boom. And he was like, ooh, ooh. I was like, okay, what a rapid punches, but that's cool. But I do agree that Kung Lao was probably my favorite character in the movie fight wise. Like Kung Lao was the man, and then they sucked his soul. What do you think, Largy? What's your thoughts on the fights?
I agree that Kung Lao was definitely the star, especially the way they angled him. Like it seemed like when his hat returned back to him, it seemed like the way they angled he was the man in the movie. I was disappointed and just looking so forward to Cole Young's character to come to life, like really, because in the beginning the daughter was like, oh, he lost on purpose, you know, or he lost this time. Oh, so what is his fighting style? Like what that's what I was all throughout the whole movie. I was looking forward to seeing him come alive, and that really never happened. I was so, and especially, and then I kind of was like, oh, please don't let his style just be basic MMA, you know, in the ring. I was like, please let him recall his ancestors' memories and, you know, kind of revive this ninja style, you know. That's what I thought was going to happen. So, and I was like, well, what is his true style? They kept that as a secret and never allowed that to flourish. So that was kind of like my, and I just thought, yeah, it was cool to see. It was cool to see Scorpion and Sub-Zero fight at the end, because I think that saved it. If he was a star of the movie, Cole Young, then that would have been like no, and you know. So I'm glad that Scorpion and they had that final fight. But yeah, that's my thoughts about it pretty much. Again, it was yeah.
Let's do some fantasy stuff, because I always like to do this in my mind, because you just said something that made me think of something, Largy. What if they planned Mortal Kombat as a trilogy? Like, what if that's their plan, right? What if this movie was the true backstory of the Lin Kuei versus the Shirai Ryu, and that was the whole movie, and the end was what we saw with Raiden picking up the child and going away? But we could have. What would you think that would be a way to segue into a trilogy? You could still pick up with the Cole Haan thing, but that might be the second movie. You know, you wouldn't just have the Bi-Han versus Hanzo story only, but you could also flash to Outworld, what was happening in Outworld during that time period, you know. Do you think that would be, or something like that would kind of be a segue into having a trilogy, and then the second movie could be like the glue that like makes it make sense in the third movie? You know, it's just the third movie, but you know, something that kind of gave us a backstory of Mortal Kombat for the first movie, as opposed to this kind of, I'm trying to throw it all at you at once type deal.
Yeah. Mr. Milano, you want to go first?
No, he said you, bro.
Oh, okay. So actually, I was very interested to hear Leroy Green's comment and 6'7". So I'm very curious to see how they feel about this too, because they had some very cool insights. Yeah, I feel like if there was going to be a trilogy, Outworld should have been focused more on first. Like, what is the reason why the Mortal Kombat universe exists in the first place? What's at stake here? Because we just pretty much got that in like one sentence, like, oh, I just want to conquer all the realms. And I feel like the Cole Young definitely could have been saved at the end, and if maybe and possibly in the middle one could be I feel like the middle movie could be focused on the recruiting, the true recruiting of all the warriors, and then the third one could be all about the tournament, like the actual tournament. That would be a perfect setup. That way, these characters could add more breadth to their backstory. We could learn more about Outworld and develop a fear of like characters like Goro and Shang Tsung, and learn a little bit more about, and even the elder guys. The normal moviegoer knows nothing about the elder guys. What is that? What is that? Who is that? And then what is Raiden capable of? I think if they focus on Outworld, like Shang Tsung, Raiden, and that would have been like, oh my gosh, so this is the realm they come from. Then the next one is all about, okay, now we get to relate to more of the human characters and really focus on like their fighting styles, and like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be exciting. And then in the third movie, we get to see their fighting styles really match up with different characters. That would have been that's a very simple setup. Now that you bring it up, I think that's a really easy formula to really expect and build up anticipation and hype. So yeah, that's my thought on that.
Hello.
Yeah,
Oh man, no, I agree with you. So we're saying like the fantasy thing would be this, what if they're planning a trilogy, right? And like the third movie is the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the setup, everyone's background being flushed out would be great, because if we're focusing on like the legacy characters of the first one, right? Liu Kang, Sonya, Kano, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Johnny Cage, and Raiden, right? Now, that would be great, because it would explain a lot about how the tournament even came about, and how this tournament is so important, or the weight of this tournament. Mm-hmm. Besides, like, oh, you can get killed in this tournament. Yeah, cool. There's plenty of movies where that was the focus. Like, oh, well, this one you just fight to the death. Okay. It's been done 101 times. So to flesh out everyone's character, give them reason. You don't have to go into every single aspect, but you would have more room to flesh out everything and have room to breathe. And then the third one would be, okay, we made it this far, or okay, this is my purpose. This is my, like, Liu Kang, like, I am the chosen one, because Kung Lao didn't, even though he was around, he didn't fight in the first tournament, or the Mortal Kombat 1, the first one of the video game. He came along once they went into Outworld for the second one. So yeah, I think that'd be a good idea. But also with that, then I feel like it needs to have a added name in there. I don't know what's the term for that. So it wouldn't just be like Mortal Kombat.
No, it would be something like I'm just making something up. Something like Mortal Kombat, or something like Outworld Reign Supreme, Mortal Kombat 1, or something. Something like that.
All the other Mortal Kombat shows and stuff had that, like Mortal Kombat Legacy, Mortal Kombat Conquest.
You could go to Mortal Kombat the Genesis,
Mortal Kombat, all that. So,
yeah, and to add to Melandro's point, with the characters, like if let's say the second one was focused on just the combatants from the human the human realm. I like we would have, if we would have found some characters to really like, actually, like, oh, I'm rooting for, like in Mortal Kombat 1, I mean, I felt like I was really rooting for Liu Kang. Like, I mean, he had lost his brother. You mean, he had nightmares. I mean, everyone could just, there was fire behind the wheel. Like we were rooting on for him. This one had, this one had no one to really root for. So I feel like if there was a trilogy, the second one would, like, they would develop the characters so we can, every all of us moviegoers and gamers are different. So they're gonna appeal to us differently. So I feel like they could develop the characters in a way where we're like, oh my gosh, I really like Kano, and that's someone, someone who's like a mischievous person or something like that, or someone who likes the female empowerment of like Sonya Blade for some reason like that. It would have been more fun to like pick characters, because after the movie you would have been like, oh my gosh, you be Sonya Blade and I'm Liu Kang, let's go fight. It was not that kind of like, tension, that like fandom tension behind it. So yeah.
What ended up happening is that everyone felt that, whether or not they liked him or not, but everyone felt that Kano made the film. Like, he stole many a scene because he had the most character personality. Even if, like, okay, you can have like little backstory. Okay, he's a criminal. Okay, cool. He's a criminal. You kind of understand that, but then he had his own personality. Kung Lao, I like Kung Lao more so than Luke. I like Kung Lao's character in the film, but I just like Liu Kang, period, because I'm more of like a Bruce Lee fanatic. So, but like Kung Lao being kind of like a arrogant, so he had an opportunity, like the bickering back and forth between Kung Lao and Kano. That was great, But yeah, so that's what happened. Like, Cole Young, he was forgettable. Like, I guarantee, like, 2 months from now, he's going to be forgotten, because he could have totally just been Johnny Cage. He could have just been totally gotten Johnny Cage. Okay, I'm going to make a movie about my experience. Boom. I'm going to change my name. We're going to have a stage name. Boom, Johnny Cage. Cool. Could have did it totally differently. They didn't need to have, because I understand why they wanted to have a POV character for the audience to kind of like, learn everything through. But they did that with Kano when he was like, oh, the tournament, and we got to train. And he's like, what the hell?
Right.
So it was Kano really like, oh, you can throw fireballs,
Right.
What
right.
powers do I get? So.
Right.
Yeah.
It was, and then the telling of through the eyes of Cole Young, it need to be a better telling wise. And 6'7s, I'm just gonna call him 6'7s because he had a point there. Some good 6'7s. To be fair, the creator gave a heads up. It wouldn't be exactly how the original stories were. I think that's cool. Because there's no way you could always follow the canon to the letter from comic books or video games. I would have liked some plot holes to be filled in, and it to be, even if they were going to change some things, just do it well. Like, it was some stuff that was kind of like sloppy. Like, you don't, in movie making, in my opinion, I'm not a movie maker, I'm just a fan. You don't have to answer every why, but you don't want to create more whys.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, some of the stuff's like, well, why we, okay, like, I know you're supposed to suspend disbelief, and we are doing that, but it's like, just make a coherent type of thing, and you can establish, I mean, and I'll say this as a comic fan, if you can turn the Guardians of the Galaxy, who were like a C or D level comic that they weren't even publishing a lot, into A-listers on the screen, you can do that with anything, I think, if you can do it right, or do it to where the fans like it. Even the average fan, the average fan is who goes really to see it. As us niche fans are going to go see it anyway, but so I think that with this one, if they learn anything when they do the sequel, is these points. Like, when the average person would ask, like you said, Melandra, when they would ask, like, well, why didn't he just teleport them into like a volcano or somewhere, or teleport them somewhere, or we could just train in the void where no one could bother us. Like, you gotta think, like, why would you, so, and then they have to do a better job, I think, of Raiden, like doing something, like he just, and Shang Tsung needs to develop more of that cunningness that he's known for.
Yeah, and
You know.
I have a few whys, if it's okay to ask here.
Oops. I'm sorry. I didn't hear you.
Say I have a few whys. Like,
yes, go ahead.
So, for example, and this is related to Raiden, right? So Raiden can teleport people anywhere, anyone, anywhere. So why was Liu Kang walking in the desert and like, oh, I found you? No, they just happened to be going in the same location that you came from. They were already going there. They knew how to get there. You did a terrible job of finding them. That's like, if I show up at Largy's doorstep and he'd be like, oh, Melandro, I've been looking all over for you. Like, what? That doesn't make any sense. So, and of course, like when they were fighting earlier against the, reptile, like, why didn't Raiden if Liu Kang is supposed to be gathering champions, why didn't he teleport Liu Kang to these different locations, like save Jax, or not? Because he did, but he arrived late. Okay, cool. But then with the other guys, okay, let me show up, get teleport, and then we're gonna go, and then we're gonna go to the actual location to train. So Raiden didn't do that. And then my other question is this: how do you obtain, with this Mortal Kombat 2021, how do you obtain this dragon tattoo that gives you the potential to unlock your Arcana?
That was my question. Like when he said we're going to look for champions,
mm-hmm.
You could kill someone, it will be transferred to you, because they established that. Yeah. But before you killed somebody, how did you get it? Like, you know what I mean? Like that, I'm asking the same question you're asking. Like, okay, if all these people were champions, were they born with it? Did it transfer through them when they bumped into somebody? Did they kill something? Because we gotta assume that everyone didn't kill anyone to get it.
Right.
So are they born with it, or they bought it at the store? They went to what?
So like, jog my memory. So Jax, he got his because he killed somebody, correct?
Yeah, right. in combat, like in a mission or something.
Okay. And then Kano got his because he killed somebody, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So here's a by their own logic, right? The logic that they set in the movie. So if you obtain the dragon symbol by killing someone who already has it, shouldn't Sub-Zero have the dragon symbol because he killed Scorpion? Hanzo?
Yes.
So then how did Cole Young get his dragon symbol when he's quote unquote born with it, but his father died? So how did it transfer to him instead of going over to Sub-Zero?
But this is the murky area, because Sub-Zero, dang man, they all run together. Scorpion was not his father. It was just his descendant. Remember, that was supposed to be thousands of years before in Japan.
Okay. And
so they kind of, I'm just saying, this is how they glossed over for Cole Young. Mm-hmm. Raiden took the baby and hid him with him. Mm-hmm. So I guess every other did I say Cole Haan again? But every other I got that shoe on the brain. Every other descendant of the Hashi line must have had it and was hidden. See, because other than that, or they just was in a place that weren't violent and someone didn't kill him for it.
Well, my thing to answer Melandro's question, like, so Sub-Zero probably already did. Would he already have it if his activated while he was fighting Scorpion? Why would it be like? What would happen? What would happen, assuming that, okay, like maybe his power will augment, maybe he would get stronger over the, I don't know, millennia, but I was just thinking like when he killed Scorpion, he must have already had his Arcana activated and all that, so he wouldn't gain it again. So I think that would answer that question. But what would happen? What would happen? Like what would happen without Mark? Would it increase his power? That would make sense to me. Like why he was powerful, but they didn't. They left that unexplained.
Again, like it was a missed opportunity to just flesh out the lore. Because okay, yeah, if he already they didn't say if Sub-Zero had it already, and that's how he's a cryomancer, or just that's what he specialized in from years of training and was able to eventually be able to control ice, you know. And then somehow, some way, Cole is born with this dragon ringworm tattoo on him. And then, but it was weird because like, oh, if you lose, I wasn't sure if like if you lose, somebody get it or they got to kill you, because Cole did lose and he tapped out. So shouldn't the guy in the cage that made him tap out, shouldn't he have the dragon tattoo instead of Cole?
Right.
You got to kill the person.
I think you got to kill him. Yeah, I think you got, because remember Liu Kang even said that. Liu Kang said he was sent into the town against the guy who was basically the child trafficker.
Yeah.
And he killed him and got his thing, and then he went to be trained under Raiden. So if you're not
end up having
how did he get it? Did he kill somebody for it? Or did he was so I guess it was
I think it would have been cool, and this is just me. I think it would have been cool for half-ass. I think it would. I agree with Leroy. It's like they start to go, you know, supporting the source material, and then they take 2 steps back. But I think that it would have been cool for Liu Kang's personality in the first video game to be present in the movie, because that's why Liu Kang doesn't kill you when he does his quote unquote fatality. You don't get it says finish him. He does his wheel kick and an uppercut, but you don't get a fatality. You know, you get the bonus or whatever, unless you uppercut him on the pit. So that was kind of cool because he's a Shaolin monk and he doesn't believe in like killing the other person, right? And then to kind of piggyback on that, I think it would have been cooler to when they kind of like ostracized or excluded Sonya because she didn't have the mark, right? I think it would have been cooler if she was able to develop her powers regardless of that, because it was always inside her, and she was able to tap. Oh, okay, well, she doesn't really need the mark. So that means that you can like really tap, and that means these other characters, and you don't need this specific thing like, oh, you can only tap into your power if somehow you only you obtain this through whatever means. It can be through high moral standard means, or it could just be bam, okay, shot him. All right, now I got the dragon tattoo.
Right. You know? I mean, and I thought that was going to happen, what you just said about, okay, she didn't have the dragon, but she was gonna in the fight that would happen or something, and Raiden would be like, wow, you got the power without it. And maybe it was wrong. Maybe Earth has is full of champions and not the 10 people who got a dragon mark. Yeah. So I mean, go ahead, Larks.
Yeah, I was curious. There was a someone here named Katie. She said Mortal Kombat rocks. And I was very curious to see what her. I was curious to see why she thought Mortal Kombat rocked, like specifically. But I was just also going to add to the point. There, you know what? If the movie was all about the markings, I was just thinking like, wouldn't it be cool if there was a character where they defeated all of the warriors with the markings, and every marking that they received, even if it's the same one, it would just augment their power. That could have been Sub-Zero's character to me. Like he would just kill everybody with the marking, and they would just become the most powerful warrior. And then maybe he like, speaking in fantasy, maybe he would become more powerful enough to defeat Shang Tsung and then just like overtake Outworld. Like, but I was just thinking like, that could have been a missed opportunity too. Like, oh, how many, you know, I mean, will you just level up all the time? So yeah, that was just something that popped up in my head. Oh, Richard Ellison is here. Hey.
So I wanna highlight Katie is Cabela. Larry.
Oh, hey, Cabela. All right.
And we got Richard, and maybe they're leaving that for the sequel, Mortal Kombat Kill. It could be. That would be another way to approach it. I mean, do you guys think, and this is for everybody watching, if you want to comment too, and do you think that this was like a test film? Like, let's make Mortal Kombat and let's test our audience with it so we can make a sequel or a couple sequels. Like, is it, you know what I mean by that? It's like, let's do it kind of quickly and try to make the story simple and just give you what you want, which is, like Katie says, the CGI, the fight scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe the sequels will actually be more meat. Do you think maybe that might have been a thinking?
That's exactly what I thought. From just seeing that there was another Mortal Kombat movie, and I agree with Katie too. Like, yeah, the fight scenes. The CGI was really cool. I mean, but I thought that like they were just testing the waters to see if there would be interest. This felt like a parallel to the Justice League movie, and all of it was almost like the Marvel universe. Like, can Mortal Kombat be revived as its own universe in the cinematic realm? So let's create this movie to test the waters to see if the normal audience who are not video game fans would even be interested in this. But again, this felt like Justice League, where they threw in too much too fast, and it left just creating many questions. And if they did that on purpose, maybe they did that on purpose, but it was too much. It was too much to handle. And even for the gamers who like, well, there's all these whys. So, but I'm glad Katie was blown away by it.
I mean, I didn't hate the movie. We're like the old. Remember the Muppets? We're like the old cantankerous. Three of us, the three cantankerous old Muppets who are nitpicking because they like love these martial arts type fantasy video games. So I didn't hate the movie. It was entertaining. It just wasn't for me as entertaining as it could have been with plot, more attention to characterization and more attention to like the mythology, because it kind of glossed over it. Like Largy, I think it was you. It might have been you. It might have been Melandra. I can't remember, earlier in the conversation about no flashbacks of like what Outworld was, even if Raiden or whoever or Sonya was telling the story. All you got was some like artwork that looked like a 2-year-old did it. Like, it was like he's standing over with a hammer. That's Shao Kahn. And it's like, that to me could have been a flashback, even if she was like explaining quickly what Mortal Kombat was. Because remember, Cole Haan is us, as you stated. The viewer could see like Outworld, maybe some flashbacks of like other like those pictures could have been visual, moving. When the guy was standing over the one guy and like he's about to kill him and all that. If that was like a flashback in the pit, just I think that would have had man, you know what I mean. Yes, geared to fans. I'm gonna show this comment.
Oh, fans, okay. Mr. Richard, yay.
Mm-hmm. What do we think about Jax? Mekhi Brooks should have had more script. Do you think it was like, do you agree with the statement that Richard just put in there? Excuse me. I think we can agree that all of them need more characterization. But I mean, as far as Jax, did you think they did Jax justice in this one?
I'm just gonna be honest. I was really disappointed with, like, I was excited when his arms were amputated, but I was like, how they, I don't know. Yeah, I was kind of disappointed with his role. I mean, he was a great actor in my opinion. He seems like just the more supportive type anyway. But in terms of his abilities, I'm not sure if he always had the arcana from the gaming lore. Do you all know about that, or was that just? Yeah? So that was kind of new. So I like how that was a tricky way they played that in there. But I don't know. The last video game, the video game storylines are like 10 times, better, in my opinion, and how in terms of how Jax's plays out. But I don't know. For his supporting role, I thought he did an excellent job, in my opinion. But yeah, he could have developed more characterization as well.
Can I address a comment in the thing? I'm gonna put it up.
Yeah.
This is Zoop Kid 1.
Hey.
And I believe Zoop Kid 1 is Marky.
Yeah.
Correct. Marky.
Yeah,
don't listen to this, man. Go watch the movie and then come back. And this will be on this channel as a video. It'll automatically be like a replay, and you can skim through it because we're approaching 2 hours. But don't listen to us. Go see the film. Don't do it. Don't do it. But we all have our opinions. Like this is why in my review videos, I give a rating, but I don't give a recommendation because everybody's taste is different.
I recommend everyone go see it.
Yes, that's what I
recommend everyone go see it and formulate their own opinions. And for me, I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was okay because there are some things that were like, oh, that's amazing. And other stuff that kind of like, man, you could have did so much better. Why didn't you? Why did you make this choice? And that's only because, I'm invested in the brand. I'm invested in the franchise. I have every single Mortal Kombat game with the exception of mythologies, Shaolin monks, and special forces. So all of the fighting games, I have all of that in some sort of variation. So I'd recommend everyone go see it. I don't think it was as a movie. I don't think it was better than the first one. Definitely better than Annihilation.
What is it, man?
What isn't better than Annihilation?
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu.
Neck and neck. We should get together and do these often because we need to do one on jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
Because that
gotta watch it again.
Nah, I can remember. I can't do it.
Oh, that means I gotta watch it again.
I can't do it, man.
Oh, I'm not watching it. I'm glad I didn't.
You know what you could do? You could you could put the video, the stream on and just pull the playhead and you would get it. You know how you can move the thing. You get it.
Pull the playhead. Go ahead and pull that playhead.
But
I'm gonna go against you all and say that. I'm gonna say that.
Go ahead, brother.
The second Mortal Kombat. I'm just gonna be honest. I actually enjoyed that one better than this one. I'm just the movie because because it was corny. It was whacking a lot, but it played to the fans. Like they had the animality in there. They showed that was super sweet. Like they actually, so they really tried to adhere to the game. And so I was like, and then Jax was a bomb in that movie. If I was comparing Jax to that movie to this one, Annihilation all the way. And and I was just gonna say one more comment about 6'7". I forgot
6'7".
Yeah, 6'7". He had a real. Oh no, Melandro. Okay, I got a question for Melandro. For a long time, I've been confused with the Mortal Kombat lore. storyline because they developed it in so many different ways. Remember the Sub-Zero video game where it was all about him. It was kind of like the adventure mode, and they painted him as the good guy against, you know, and he had to fight all of these characters from our world. I thought that Sub-Zero all along in the Mortal Kombat lore was the good guy against Scorpion. Scorpion was all like this hellish evil character. Like I didn't understand the rivalry and the history behind him. So now they're painting Sub-Zero as the bad guy. It's like every time they come up with a new video game, it seems like the whole story is changing. What is your understanding of like Sub-Zero? Like is he a good guy or a bad guy or what? Like which one is it?
How cold is he?
Right.
So yeah, what they start to retcon over time is that Quan Chi manipulated the Lin Kuei, which are still rival clans to the Shurai Ryu. But Quan Chi made Scorpion believe that Sub-Zero was in, this is like video game, not movie, made Scorpion believe that Sub-Zero killed his family. So when Sub-Zero came back as a wraith or whatever, he would be listening more to Quan Chi, and Quan Chi could influence him this way. Then when Scorpion killed Sub-Zero, and then in the second tournament, he realized that this isn't the same Sub-Zero, but then also realized that Quan Chi was kind of manipulating the situation. That's when Scorpion kind of became the protector of Sub-Zero, so to speak, to kind of like atone, you know, for that. And that's why, like in all the other Mortal Kombat iterations, like Scorpion is hunting Quan Chi, and he even like kills him in Mortal Kombat X, I think it is. Like, yeah, Quan Chi gets killed. Spoilers, right? But it's just what it is. It's just over time they just develop as they create new characters, and time goes on. They just add more to the backstory of characters, you know, because I think originally Sub-Zero was supposed to assassinate Shang Tsung. That's why he entered the tournament.
Gotcha. Thank you for explaining that.
Right. We are almost at 2 hours. I think we probably should call this one. This was great. A nice test for us. I think we need to get together.
Is Leroy Green still in there?
I think so, yeah. Oh, you got the Last Dragon shirt on.
I got the I am.
All right.
Yeah,
all right.
Thank you, boy.
That's a sweet shirt. I love that.
Yeah, I want to thank, he said I'm here. I want to thank all of our viewers. We had a great lively chat. This is what I love. I want to mash up about the movies. We all have our opinions. 6 sevens, where do I find jujitsu? 6 sevens, do you have Netflix?
No, it's Amazon.
It's on Netflix now.
It's on Netflix.
Jiu-jitsu, just a couple weeks ago.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's on Netflix, and no, you good. It's on Amazon Prime and it's on Netflix. If you have Netflix or something, but I'm sure you can find it. It's been out for a while, hasn't it? Like
2 weeks or 3.
It's been out longer than that, hasn't it?
Oh,
the whole movie's been out for a while, man. 6 sevens.
Oh.
We're gonna do a jiu-jitsu review. Be sure to tune in because I'm sure that one's gonna be very interesting. But you know, after you see it, of course, this won't be that soon. But I really enjoyed this. Thank everybody for participating. I want to give a big thanks to Demetrius Angelo of Urban Action Showcase because I was able to screen the film that Thursday. So I want to give a shout out to them.
Say illegally.
No, I can't say that. We're in public, but so you know, by all means, let's plug because we got Mr. Melandro is on Twitch. You want to drop that in the chat, man, with your Twitch handle?
Yeah, do I drop it here? No, that's a private chat.
Yeah, you can drop it in the chat. Yeah, right up here. Private chat is just if we chat, but this one that's going on, you can drop it in there.
I don't see the.
You don't see the. Maybe only I can do it. I don't know.
Yeah. But anyway, like.
But drop it on if you're on your phone. Drop it on in YouTube.
All right.
It'll go right in there.
So I'm on Twitch. Just a verbal plug. I'm on Twitch. Twitch.tv/Mr. Melandro81. Please follow me and just turn on your notifications so you know when I go live. If I'm not on as frequently, it's only because I'm doing more work, which is great. Thank you, Film Fan Dojo. Also, if you guys want any information on Capoeira, I have a Capoeira YouTube channel, Capoeira Bay Area. I'll be uploading some new tutorials sooner than later. Or you can just check out our website, capoeirabayarea.com, and that has all our social media links. And we're doing good work here in the Bay Area. We just recently did a seminar, a self-defense seminar with boxing, capoeira as a self-defense, eskrima, and also taekwondo for the Black and Asian Solidarity event that we are putting on. So check us out on Instagram for more information about that. If you want to support any way that you can, it's greatly appreciated. And also I want to thank again Gary Williams, the 24th Venom.
12.
Deadliest. It's the deadliest Film Fan Dojo, for the opportunity just to connect with you guys. It's almost, it brings back memories of just hanging out and at each other's house and just chopping it up. Largy, great to see you guys, and I'm just happy to be a part of this. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Largy, let's plug yourself, man.
All right, thank you very, very much. First of all, I want to say thank you so much to the 12th Venom, Gary Williams. Been a huge fan for a long time, and so I'm really happy to support his work. And I encourage everyone if you're a huge movie fan, check out Gary Williams at Film Fan Dojo. And then if you love capoeira and fitness, check out Mr. Melandro, and he's got his new game channel too, so you can have some fun with him that way. And actually, these two they Twitch together, so you may find some like literally digitally Twitch. Like, oh my gosh, that's actually funny. So yeah, thank you again for this opportunity. This was really fun. I look forward to the next time too, and I appreciate this. Thank you so much. Oh, and it was so fun to chat with the 6'7s, Leroy Green and Katie and Richard and whoever else showed up here. So thank you very much.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, please come back. We're going to do jiu-jitsu. We'll throw up, once we figure out what we're going to do it, we'll give a little bit more publicity than we did to this one. This was kind of like, let's just do it, see how it goes. And so I really want to do jiu-jitsu. We got to do that one, man. That's on another level. Leroy Green, my man, thank you. Thank you, Leroy. You've been a support for quite a while, commenting on videos and stuff, man. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thanks, everybody. If you haven't seen Mortal Kombat, go see it, because I'm a firm believer, all the criticism aside, I'm a firm believer that if we keep supporting these movies, they'll keep making more, and over time they'll get better. So we got to Leroy, man, watch jiu-jitsu, man. Because you gotta watch it. So when you come back and we do this review, you'll get all the references that no doubt we're going to talk about. So thank you guys, over a little over 2 hours. I want to thank again Mr. Melandro, and thank again Largy. And we will see you guys soon. Hopefully, maybe we can do this in the next couple weeks. All right, Wakanda forever. And go see Falcon and the Winter Soldier last episode. Gotta see that. Okay. All right. Peace out.